Mike's all spun around. I watched this one that's supposedly proof against my claim that identically spec'd mic preamps operating in their linear range pretty much are going to sound the same. Oh wow, somebody gave me some extra food. Nice. Be too fat. Anyways, this is from Joey Sturgis Tones, and listen, please do not DMCA me. I'm already having enough trouble with this stuff. This is obviously fair use. This is obviously transformative. Come on. So, if you don't know my stance, people make a lot of claims about magical mic preamps and how different they are, and then when you actually go and test them, the golden ears can't tell the difference between the cheapest, crappiest ones, allegedly crappiest. They actually end up picking one of the what they call the crappiest ones as their favorite one. So let's hope this is going to be tons of actual quantifiable stuff, not just weasel words like warm, bright, open, transparent, all that nonsense. Let's hope that this actually has some concrete measurements and everything else on it. So let's see what's going on. I just don't want to. I am poisoning the well already. Let's see what's going on. Here we go.
My friends, there comes a point in every engineer's life when they start questioning the preamps they're using. It's been a while since we did a vid on preamps, and I'm preamped about making this video, so let's get to it. Most of us have come.
Now that was an epic pun. I don't know if you heard that. He says something about we're talking about preamps, but I'm preamped about making this video. Now that's awesome. So we're already off to a good start.
A long way from using an M-Box or the classic Fast Track Pro. That was my first interface with a preamp, by the way. The newer interfaces today that come with preamps are more than enough to get the job done, but I want to talk about strictly preamps, not ones that come packaged with interfaces and converters, because we have to realize something. As amazing as these products are, they're obviously aimed at a budget-friendly market. It would be quite difficult to pack preamps, converters, interfaces, DAC, and monitoring options into a neat little box and then make those preamps beat a solidified preamp. By the end of this
Would it though? What do you mean by beat? Now, of course, the more space you have to build something, generally the better you can make it. Smaller sizes definitely bring noise more into the equation. As things are packed together more. But that doesn't mean. I remember. It depends on the resolution too, right? Like maybe it is noisier, but if the noise is so far down that we can't hear it anyway, it's not really gonna make any difference. And I think some of these even cheapest of the mic preamp interfaces are getting pretty close to their theoretical noise floor, because you can't really get 24-bit conversion. I mean, there's noise down there. I forget what they call it, thermal noise, shot noise, something else. And even some of these cheapies are pretty close to there on noise. So the other factors would be distortion and frequency response. I've shown over and over that even the cheapest interfaces can have some exceedingly flat frequency responses. I mean, to the point where you're talking 0.1 decibel up or down across the entire frequency range that you can be dealing with. So, you know, what is it about these purpose-built mic preamps that are going to be that much better? Yes, theoretically, when you got a single job to do, you can do that job better. But when the quality of your job is beyond human hearing, it kind of doesn't matter, because so let's just see.
Video, I'll have given you the lowdown on the most sought after preamps and what they're best used for. So what's happening, fam? Miami here with JST, and over the years I've acquired SSL, API, Neve, Chandler, and Daking preamps. Honorable mention to Audient, who punches way above its weight class but isn't as expensive as the others. I love to pump up Audient, so I might as well pump up my audience by asking them to hit that subscribe button. That's my first transition.
Not bad, not bad.
But we got more today. We got more. So those preamps, well, those are the ones I've kept anyways, and for good reason. They are the best of the best. And all.
In what way are they the best? Okay, so here, I'm getting a little worried here. Remember, I used to always take these videos in front of this pile of mic preamps I had. I mean, I had everything you can think of. Every brand. Every mic preamp. And then I used to mic up drums, Behringer 8000, just to piss people off. But you make claims about what's the best. What do you mean by best? Lowest noise, widest bandwidth, flattest frequency response, least distortion. What's the best? Hope you're going to tell us and not just use weasel words.
All have their own unique flavors and purpose, but people always want to know which are my favorite, or
I don't believe the flavors thing. I know you guys say it all the time, but every time we test you on it, you can't pick one from the other. I don't believe you.
what they sound like. Or, and this is my favorite one, which should you use for what? Well, I'm happy to actually answer because after using them extensively,
Whenever people start talking about what mic preamps to use on what source, there's a kind of a paint by numbers, conformist, copycat paradigm where you know exactly what they're going to say. You know what source they're going to say on what mic preamp before they say it. It's just sad. Let's just hope that this guy doesn't say API for the snare. What else has he got? Neeves. You can say Neve on anything. But almost guaranteed, if the paint by numbers guys will definitely say API for the snare. And it's funny nowadays because back in the day, everybody hated the SSL consoles, the mic preamps and stuff. They wanted to record on a Neve. Before, people carried mic preamps around for the most part. And nowadays, SSL is like the mic preamp to get, which just, if you would have told us this in the 90s, we'd be cracking up. Not that it's a bad preamp, but again, we had this religion thinking all this nonsense about it. So, sorry, babbling, and we are 7 minutes in, and I've only gotten a minute into this video. So sorry about that. Let's keep going.
some are actually better for specific applications. So let's get into it. Coming in with
Better in what way? Again, like he just keeps using weasel words.
for what? Well, I'm happy to actually answer because after using them extensively, some are actually better for specific applications. So let's get into it. Coming in with possibly the most legendary preamp of all time, the Neve 1073. I'm looking at that little guy over there. Let's take a listen to this beauty real quick. Preamp has a special power that people that aren't in the
What did we just listen to? That's kind of silly. Okay, sorry, 1 second. Hello, Kyle. The music's cool. All right, sorry about that. This is the real world. Keeps going. Here we go.
industry don't know. When you're a studio looking to get into the commercial category and want to rent your room out, the 3 most requested pieces of gear are a Neumann U87, a CL1B, and a Neve 1073. Just for this reason,
The CL1B? I don't think so. But I say this all the time. I used to keep an Avalon mic preamp around just because of the rap idiots they insisted on that mic preamp. They can't tell the difference. You don't even have to turn the thing on, but they just always ask if you got an Avalon 737 or whatever. And so we'd keep one around. So yeah, if you're in a studio where your job is to sell hours and nothing else, definitely have what your clients want. That's kind of crazy. They're talking about a TubeTech CL1B, but whatever. I'm not gonna I don't know what people do now. They clip drums, so who knows? Kids are crazy now.
This might be your smartest choice for getting a big boy preamp. But let's talk about the actual characteristics of the preamp, because some of us are sound engineers that actually care about how this stuff sounds.
Yeah, we're 2 minutes 25. He's talking about sound engineers who care about how things sound. Hopefully now, finally, with 1/5 of the, or sorry, yeah, 1/5 of the video already gone, we're going to actually get into some specifics
Over the perception specific gear gives off. So Neve 1073 preamps are associated with having an airy high end, a full low end, and present mid range.
Okay. So I don't have to tell you, that is absolutely word salad, nonsense, garbage. An airy high end. Oh yeah? What units do we measure that in? A full low end as opposed to what? A high pass filter? And a present mid-range. What does that mean? Now, let's just Google. And I know this could be wrong, and back in the day, everybody lied about this crap anyway. But let's just see. Frequency response 1073. Okay. See if we can find a image. Here's sound on sound. I don't know what this is. Is this an actual... What am I looking at? Neve 1073N. This may be like a product. This is Neve's own 1073. Oh wow! So this is a lot like the AMEC. As you turn up the gain, the high frequency response goes up, but not by a lot. Okay, so look at this. At 10K with 50 decibels of gain, you're like 0.1, 0.2 decibels away from flat. And here is like a 0.1 decibel mid-range hump, but I mean, this is nothing. This is so flat. Like if we zoomed out on this thing, you'd call this flat, except for this bump up here, which is kind of crazy and not necessarily what I want. Here's a bump from the transformer. They say right around 20 hertz. 50 on, it's pretty much flat. Let's take a look at a different Neve. Is there another one? So Vintech is completely flat. Here's the Brent Averill one. Let's take a look at this. So this is so there's a slight lift. Again, yeah, whatever. So these are basically flat, except for this weird bump up here again. But I don't know that that's on the real ones. It could be. Could be that's your presence spike that everybody's freaking out about. I'm not really seeing another one. That's a bummer. Let's see what Google comes up with. Pro Audio Designs, AMS, Nevis, and Neve one. Yeah, here's a Heritage Audio one that everybody talks about. Plus 0.3 to minus 0.2. That's flat. Flat, flat, flat. Yeah, so here you go with your airy high end. But, you know, that big old bump up top, you could call that a airy high end. I mean, it's really not as much as you're thinking it is. But it's something. It's a boost. And we have an AMEC 9098 over here that does the same thing. It has this weird bump up top. And maybe that's the secret to the Neve's down. Go put an exciter on your stuff. But notice we don't get any numbers or anything like that. We just get weasel words.
Literally hitting all of the marks. And this would make sense because the OG 1073 had a 3-band EQ that made it possible to alter those 3 areas to your liking. Also has one of the best high pass filters you can use to cut off your subs, but why would I ever want to cut off my subs? And if you aren't subbed yet, make sure to hit that sub button, tap the bell, and give it a like if you're
This guy's clever. What makes the high pass filters better? Okay, now I'm confused. Let me see. So here's a measuring high pass filter. Why is this the best one ever? Yeah, it sure is flat aside from that. So does this one of these positions actually get rid of the transformer or something? Interesting.
Enjoying this video. My transition game is crazy and has leveled up. These characteristics lead to it being amazing on pretty much anything, but specifically vocals, overheads, and full-bodied bass. Up next is one of my favorite preamps ever made, the API 3124, or 312 if you want the solo. Let's take a listen to this as well.
What are you hearing? What was the original? I don't get it. What are we hearing?
This preamp has a faster transient response than Neve and has the most pronounced mid-range of the legendary ones. This actually brings up a really good point as to why recording on a console has a particular sound, because all the preamps have the same transient response and everything is working in unison. When you have different preamps on different sources, there's no way they're going to work together as well as preamps that have the same exact design. The API, as I said, is the most famous for its mid-range, so it kills on bass and drum shells. This is also due to the fact that it has the fastest transient response, so anything with tons of transient information is going to do well with this preamp. I don't absolutely...
All right. We need to do some videos on this later, but really want to see it on a preamp. Hopefully somebody, I'll look more later, but transient response is basically how fast can something react to a change in velocity, right? It seems to me that if you can pass the frequency, you've got enough of a fast enough transient response. Let me see. There's a lot of claims here using weasel words. I'm trying to find some actual numbers. Yeah, Nika Aldrich says a box's transient response is directly tied to its frequency response. That's what I'm thinking. Frequency response is only part of it since it can be corrected by feedback and EQ. Limited bandwidth is not necessarily the prime issue. Time domain phase characteristics are more important. Now somebody speaking to Nika. Nika says back, we need to see where Nika is lately. Transient response is going to manifest itself as a difference in one of three things: the frequency response, the phase response, or the dynamic range response, or any combination of these. If the frequency response between two boxes is identical, then the only remaining area for an effect is either the phase response or the dynamic range response. But if you guys got identical dynamic range and the phase, I could see the phase mattering for the very first part of a hit, but once things are moving, I don't see it ignoring them. So let me see if there's a little bit of talk. Phase and, so this is Nika again. Phase and frequency can be completely decoupled. I can create two waveforms with identical frequency content and different phase content. I can create two waveforms with identical phase content and different frequency content. I cannot create two waveforms that have identical frequency and phase content but are different. If two boxes have different transient responses, then that will manifest itself either in frequency or in phase. If not in frequency, then in phase. If not in phase, then in frequency. Okay. Bob Katz is here. Says the Fourier rule, which is that the transient response and the bandwidth are directly related. However, this is not an explanation of why with two preamps with have identical bandwidth, one can have much greater apparent transient response than the other. One preamp can sound softer and have less apparent transients. I know that harmonic distortion can cause apparent compression and less apparent transient response by reducing the peak to average ratio. That makes sense. So we have to take this into context. How does the presence or absence of harmonic distortion enter in this discussion of transient response in preamps? It should be a legitimate part of the sonic equation. Let's see. So I have to be convinced that you're really gaining something with these other transient responses. But let's move on here.
Absolutely love it on vocals over something like a Neve pre, but it still gets the job more than done. Mid-rangey guitars do really well with API preamps, by the way. Might as well move on to the third of the legendary trio, the SSL. SSL preamps are known for being the transparent brand. Whereas Neve and API are known for color, SSL is known for giving you a clean and clear sound. When choosing sources for this, you really only need to decide if you prefer a pristine sound or if you're looking for something that you want to add flavor to. Let's take a listen to this SSL Alpha preamp.
Yeah, what are we listening to? I would bet really any of my gear that this guy wouldn't be able to pick one of these mic preamps for another. Maybe the Neve if it really has that boost up top, but if we were doing something like a guitar or something, I doubt it. This just seems like nonsense to me. I'll keep going with it.
Very smooth, and since they really don't have any color to them, they work well on any source. Drums, bass, vocals, keys, etc. all will be very true to form. They're also a bit cheaper than the other two legendary preamps, so if you just want something that's pretty affordable and you like to add your color in the box, this might be the one for you. Moving on to one of my favorite preamps of all time, the Chandler Germanium. This is without a doubt a preamp that you're either going to love or hate. I love it. It is the most analog sounding preamp in my opinion, and I would define this as having a very round low end, extremely creamy mid-range, and a Neve-like air depending on how you set the preamp. Let's take a listen to that. There's a thick button on the preamp you can engage for exaggerated lows, and it can be made to sound darker or lighter depending on how you mess with the feedback knob. The best use for this in my opinion are overheads that you think are too bright, vocals for indie pop or post-rock, guitars, and bass. Anything that just needs tons of color and warmth. This is definitely what I would consider a color piece, but I don't think I would use it as my desert island preamp, to be honest. It has its own mojo and sounds very 60s, but if that's the kind of music that you're gonna make, I would take a look at this one for sure. Let's actually take a listen to this versus the Neve 1073. Let me know what you think about those differences in the comments. We talked about SSL, so I want to mention what I consider is its little brother. The Audient preamps remain very much a slightly warmer SSL at a cheaper price point. I wanted to add this into the bunch because I wanted to make sure that there was an affordable option out of all of these very
Sorry, had somebody come in and talk to me, but I doubt I missed anything. Let me catch up.
Very expensive preamps. Let's take a listen to that now versus an SSL preamp.
Okay, let's be honest. What you just heard there, is any of that gonna decide, oh, I want this one versus that one, if you didn't know which one's which? Honestly, I don't want to scroll down into the comments. I'm gonna see some bozos. They're like, oh, this one's totally better than that one. I can totally hear the difference. Let's see. Great video. I have the Chandler TG2, which is a bit more modern sounding to me than the Germanium. That sounds awesome on vocals and guitars. Nice, but I could hear the differences clearly compared to the other videos. Clearly you can. What do you want to bet on that, Mr. Clearly? And yeah, the SSL sounds a bit smoother. It's not always my preferred choice, but I like that you can keep it or add color. Anytime these guys say add color, okay, I'm sorry. Every time I hear color from the same guys who absolutely and utterly epically failed every mic preamp test they've ever taken, no matter how much crap they talked ahead of time, it's always those guys that talk about color. They're full of crap. Sorry.
These are great on pretty much anything like an SSL, but won't give you the color that you would get from a Neve, API, or Chandler Germ. So now I want to talk about a preamp I've been using pretty frequently lately, the Daking Mic Pre 1. It's this guy right over here. This preamp's based off the Trident A range, if you've ever heard of one of those. There was a console built for Trident Studios that caught attention. It's very punchy and pristine, and I found myself really liking these on distorted guitars as of late. Really nice low end as well. Would also make a great vocal preamp, and since it comes in a nice little desktop style box, you know, it's very well built, sturdy, can handle anything that you throw at it, and come.
All right, sorry. Sorry about that. Always something real world going on.
Comes with a nice high pass filter to boot. Let's take a listen to something I recorded with this a while back.
If you love me, let me go. If you love me, let me go.
Now we're gonna take it to something that most people have used as some
Because that would be so different on a different preamp.
point, which is an interface, the Focusrite. The onboard pre's are probably one of the most notable simply because of the sheer volume of how many of these have been sold. And here's the reality. No one should expect these to sound like a Neve preamp. They're made at an affordable price for the consumer.
Okay. What's the difference do you see? What's the sound of a Neve preamp? You talking about that bump in yours? You could get that with an EQ. Noise? Distortion? What's the sound that you're talking about?
So that they have the chance to work on music and make solid recordings. These are great for travel in case you need to make a quick setup somewhere or you need a cheap portable rig. Even good for something like podcast.
You know, in case you've seen the latest Glenn Fricker video, somewhere around here, hold on, which was me and Ethan and Glenn on a round table. He's supposed to put a link up to my page right here, Gear Reference. And when we actually measure that Focusrite, I think I did a Focusrite in here. 18920. Do I have a Scarlett? Please tell me I got a Scarlett. Oh, I didn't get a Scarlett. This can be the same damn thing though. Okay, so here's the 18920. Let's look at frequency response. It's flat to within 0.1 decibel. You know, so you get this roll off up here, but that's way up there. So you get distortion and noise way down there, pretty much theoretical minimum, right? So whatever, dude.
On the go, and if there's no other option, people have recorded amazing songs using nothing but this little guy. So just try to remember that everything has a price point for a reason. So we've gone over the legends, AP.
Wow. It was bad enough to have all the Deepak Chopra weasel words, but this guy just, one of my biggest pet peeves is that idiotic statement, you get what you pay for. Total nonsense in this business. For the most part, the same company, the same factory, same place makes all the units that are kind of in the same category. For the most part. I mean, there are still some American made, some are made like backyard, whatever. But for the most part, they're all made in the same place by the same people with the same components. It's just crazy.
PI, SSL, and Neve. Tapped into some more boutique style preamps like Chandler Germaniums and Daking, and some affordable options like the Focusrite and Audient preamp. Here's the kicker. These are all real preamps. There's no such.
Yeah. Again, you got what you pay for. You pay for what they're charging you. You pay a little bit more for better QC. But it's still going to be pretty light. I know Behringer kind of skates that line a little bit, but like when we're talking about guitars, think about the amazing guitars that are all built in the same factory. Some of them have one name on them when they cost a lot of money. Some of them have a different name on them and they cost barely anything. And you can get an amazing guitar for $500, $300, $700. What would have cost you thousands in the 80s when gas was $1 a gallon, you know? Forget this, you get what you pay for nonsense.
Thing as a fake one, just different categories and classes. It's up to you and your wallet to decide which one is best for you. Are you going to be recording a lot of guitar DI? Do you see yourself doing mostly vocals? Are you going to be renting your studio out to make back a little cash? So many things are important when trying to figure out which is the smartest approach for grabbing a preamp, but hopefully with the knowledge provided, it makes it just that much easier for you to make a purchase. Are there any preamps that you...
Honestly, did you learn Jack Diddley from this one? I think I'm dumber for having watched it. Do expensive preamps make your audio sound better? That was the question to be answered. I don't think any examples or evidence or anything was provided for that.
You wish I had mentioned? Have you had any experiences with these preamps in the past? Leave it in the comments below and we will chat about it like we always do. If you're an engineer on the come up, give this video a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. You only have to do it one time. And tap that bell for notifications.
You know, I give this a dislike, but it doesn't even count anymore. Hopefully this thing's already ratioed. I don't know. Sorry, guys. I wasted your time. But whatever. I mean, this stuff comes into my email and I take a look. All right, let's